It looked as if it were surfacing out of the water and going up. They all executed at the same time, leaving. It's not like 3 of them left and then one was kind of like a little behind them. No, they were all in sync at the same time.
Just a few hours ago, this shocking account from an enlisted crew member aboard the USS Jackson describing the unexplained incident that he saw himself off the coast of California just last year.
I've never noticed that and witnessed that ever in my life.
A lot of people joke about it. They're like, no, there are no flying saucers from Mars.
Right.
Well, of course, they're not from Mars. They're not from another planet. They're from here. They've always been here. These are spiritual entities. This is my view, and I sincerely believe it. Can't prove it. I mean, it's clear that these things reside, deep in the earth, under the water, and in the atmosphere. I do think all the puzzle pieces are sort of in plain sight.
So, what is it?
Yeah.
Right? That's what everybody wants to know. What do you think it is?
So it is a machine that is able to outpace, outmaneuver, and outperform anything that we know of that's been made by technology and terrestrial nations. Now, say what you will about that. I don't know who operates these. Unfortunately, it's not the United States.
How do you know that?
That's a long. How long's your show?
Yeah,
but essentially, it's because we are seeing them, filming them, documenting them. And a lot of people have come forward with me to Congress, including whistleblowers. Unfortunately, these are not black projects of the United States. There's no fingerprint of that in our technological evolution.
So could it be China or Russia or North Korea or some other country?
I'd rather these things be from another planet than an adversarial nation, because if it was an adversarial nation, then their ability to weaponize that technology would be unprecedented. Luckily, we don't see a fingerprint for that. So Russia, China, all these nations have been excluded by the Department of Defense as the individuals making this. So that leaves a big question mark, which we're uncomfortable with. Where is this technology from? Yeah. Who is operating it? And what's the intent?
And right now, we don't know the answer to that.
Congress is trying to get the answer to that. People have testified that we reverse engineer NHI, non-human technology. They've testified in front of Congress. Yeah. David Grush, Commander David Fravor. If it's true, then the way we understand the world is smaller than it actually is.
And this isn't Antarctica we're talking about. This isn't some far-off land. This is right here. I mean, look at where we're talking about here. And this is San Diego, Catalina Island, San Clemente Island, obviously Camp Pendleton right there. And this is right in our area.
And this is a pattern of protected areas where things fly with impunity in these restricted airspace. In 2004, the Tic Tac UFO. In 2019, the UFO swarms around 10 Navy warships in this area that I obtained and released with George Knapp. A ton of corroborative visual footage, radar, thermal, IR. This is a pattern, 2004, 2019, and now 2023.
What is it about that area? Did you say it's protected because this is by Camp Pendleton? Is that why?
Well, these are warning areas. Our military is out in this area. It's a restricted area.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of people that live not that far from there that think, okay, so does this mean that alien ships are flying above our coast? What do we do about this?
This UFO phenomenon has been here for a long time. This is not something new. What is this technology and who is operating it and what is the intent?
I've never heard Elon say that's not true.
Be dismissive.
That there's nothing there. He just said, look, we monitor space. That's what they do, right? And this is self-evident. If there have been so many sightings in this country and around the world that if they were from another galaxy far, far away, there would be some satellite evidence of that. They'd be picked up coming into our atmosphere. And of course, that's not.
We've talked to you so many times over the years. You're one of the world's leading experts in UAPs and UFOs. So what did this guy see?
Yeah, well, this is an enlisted Navy officer who saw come out of the water what we call UFO or UAP. So he physically saw it come up out of the water. Then he saw it on radar. And this is one of a number of witnesses, but when I obtained and released this footage with George Knapp, people started talking to us, and he had the courage to come forward, which is no problem. He should be able to talk about this. Came up out of the water, sat up there with 3 others, and then all shot off in unison, together, synchronized, almost instantaneously. A UAP.
And so what we're looking at right now, this is Department of Defense footage, right?
Yeah, essentially anything. This is filmed by a Navy warship, right? Yeah. So these are our systems that we use to defend the ship.
Do you feel like Congress and this current administration is taking this seriously?
They said they were. They said that they're going to be transparent. I'm going to hold them to that. This UFO thing has been the most guarded secret, most compartmentalized secret. Anybody on the inside connected to this knows it's true. The question is, why haven't they told the American public? I am hoping the new administration holds themselves to that standard and tells the truth about UFOs to the American public.
It appears we are not alone in the universe. Scientists have identified the strongest signs yet of life beyond our planet.
Welcome back, and guess what? There is some brand new UAP video that just dropped, possibly shot from a Navy ship, once again off the coast of Southern California, which for some reason, has been this very, very weird hotspot for all kinds of unidentified flying objects that don't seem to care that there are all kinds of Navy warships that are out there training.
I mean, let's be realistic. This is not a foreign entity. If it was, they would control us. It's not China. It's not Russia. It's something else, and we need to address it. And we're not. And it's been a cover-up since Roswell. The Russians, the Chinese, every one of them has a Roswell-type incident that they'll talk about. We need to get it out in the public. You see these pictures; these are obviously not American aircraft. If you believe your Bible, read first chapter of Ezekiel. Ezekiel saw the wheel. It pretty much describes what you would describe now as a UFO, an aircraft from outer space that comes and lands on the planet Earth. I mean, read it. I know everybody's going to say I'm a tinfoil hat wearing redneck, but the reality is there's something out there, and we're not addressing it.
Transparency breeds trust. New boss, same as the old boss. This administration is no better when it comes to transparency about UAPs. Investigative journalist Jeremy Corbell, along with his partner George Knapp, got their hands on newly released Navy footage of UFO sightings from 2023. What you're looking at right now is the footage and what Corbell believes to be one of 4 tic-tac-shaped UFOs, I'm sure there's a better way to talk about them, emerging from the water, then flying at supersonic speeds. Out of the water, supersonic. How? Corbell then spoke to an unnamed member of the Navy who witnessed these firsthand, said this.
To see the lights emerging from water, what we witnessed was all 4 of them, all in synchronous, jetting off into the abyss. All 4, all timed together, and all left. And we were like, holy shit. Maybe 3-4 seconds pass, I run to my station and I look at my radar and they're all gone.
Now, quick refresh about why this area matters so much. 2004, we've all seen this video that was showing what was described by Navy pilots flying off the USS Nimitz as a white tic-tac that was zooming around in ways and speeds they just could not explain. In 2019, sailors on the USS Russell, again, off the coast of San Diego, seeing what they described in night vision goggles as upside-down pyramids, and then brings us to today. This new infrared video just released by documentary filmmaker Jeremy Corbell showing what he says was an incident on the USS Jackson. It's one of these littoral ships, one of the highest tech ships that we have in our arsenal. And according to Corbell, Navy sailors were actively tracking one of 4 unknown objects observed going in and out of the water. No heat plumes, no exhaust, nothing. And here is how one of the witnesses on board the ship described it.
I go out to the bridge wing. I'm noticing things and lights on the horizon, and like city lights or any other ships that are out there. So seeing a light that is lifting up, you can see it. I know the difference between a light on the horizon coming up and a light coming out of the water. When you've been on the water more in your life than you haven't been, you know the difference.
Yeah, man, this is an interesting case. There is power in military footage. It's few and far between that we get great sensor data on something that is truly anomalous, and that's what we're seeing here, backed up, of course, by the eyewitness testimony. This ship is one of the most technologically equipped ships, but additionally, this is a senior ranking Navy official who I believe will end up coming forward. They saw these craft coming out of the water, at least one of them coming out of the water. That's transmedium. This is in the Combat Information Center. Also, they saw 4 of them in total. They saw them on radar, then they picked them up in thermal. That's why it looks black and white. But if you look at a plane through that system, you see wings, a tail, exhaust, rotors, all sorts of heat signatures. You're not seeing that here. So again, it was tracked on radar, tracked on thermal. There was a kind of a synchronized, coordinated, instantaneous departure described to me and George Knapp by the first-hand witnesses. This is really reminiscent of the 2004 Tic Tac UFO, where Commander David Fravor, who testified in front of Congress, chased a UFO for the United States military. Cat's out of the bag. Sailors are seeing stuff, and now we have more evidence. And in fact, these are senior ranking Navy officials. You know, they don't want to go by their full identity at this time, but they will at some point. They're in the Combat Information Center. They get this footage. It's FLIR, forward-looking infrared. So it's black and white. What you're supposed to be seeing, we don't see. We don't see tails. We don't see thermal plumes. We don't see any signature of a normal aircraft. So that's what makes this case fascinating. We have both witnesses coming forward as well as the hardcore data and evidence.
And does that mean white is hot, black is hot there? Or what's the thermal imaging and like why do we see that tic-tac shape?
Sure. Yeah, so this is in black hot. It can switch between the two. But what's really important about this is that the high-ranking Navy official said, we saw one of these come up out of the water. We then went to radar, and we saw 4 of them. We then took our thermal cameras, and we looked at one. And when you look at a plane, it looks like a plane. This doesn't look like a plane. In fact, it looks like the Tic Tac from 2004, where Commander David Fravor chased a UFO for the United States military. So look, it's tracked on radar, it's tracked on FLIR. We're lucky to have some of this footage that you're able to see now. But what you're not seeing, Gotti, is you're not seeing the typical signatures you'd see on an aircraft. This is a very unique propulsion system. It appears from this footage. And again, people have come forward and risked to bring this footage to me and George Knapp. And as journalists, we have a duty to put it out after investigating it. I'm glad that it's out now.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're putting it out too. And again, you know, we are lucky to see those images, but what happens all the way before that is what's really important. And I mean, if you get a chance, go back and listen to what Commander Fravor said about what happened back in 2004. Opened your eyes. But Jeremy, I know you've been pushing for government disclosure on all this, like harder than anybody else I know. This administration seemed to suggest that they were going to get to the bottom of it, and yet, like, so far, we are pretty well into this. Why aren't we seeing like more tangible evidence from people that aren't just coming forward scared to lose their jobs and scared to lose their livelihoods? Like, why don't you think we're seeing, like the government say, this is what's going on?
Everybody says we don't have stuff like that. Don't take my word for it. Commander David Fravor testified in front of Congress. We didn't have technology like this in 2004. We do not have technology like that now. We also wouldn't be testing, you know, kind of black budget technologies in these warning areas right off the coast of San Diego. This has been going on for decades, if not centuries. We don't have technology like this, but take the word of people that testify in front of Congress who know.
Why do you think they're not telling us?
Yeah, man, it brings us back to like the core question here. We want transparency. We want the truth. We've been told UFOs are real, but that's it. Congress has done their best so far. I am holding hope. If you remember this last hearing at Congress, I was able to bring in the Immaculate Constellation documents, and I actually brought the whistleblower himself in to speak with members of Congress. He didn't testify publicly for personal reasons so far, but we learned from his testimony that there are thousands of videos of high quality of UFOs, UAP that's been admitted to, the public hasn't seen. I'd sure like to see them. UFOs have been taboo for so long. It's now admitted that they're flying with impunity within our restricted airspace, and we have footage like this, military filmed UAP from a Navy warship in a critical area just off the coast of California. It's going to take time, but you know, you got to be optimistic. You got to keep fighting, easy way or hard way. This is going to come out.